Good evening, this is News.ph, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Tomorrow is our country's 116th Independence Day. The question is not so much what it means to us, but this. How do we feel about our country? We have a good mix, very interesting mix of people here tonight. Our guests, acclaimed glass sculptor Ramon Orlina, Attorney Alex Lacson, whose book 12 Little Things Every Filipino Can Do to Help Our Country has resonated with so many people. Former Representative Mark Cojuangco, who is very, very vocal on Twitter, sometimes a little bit noisy, and a netizen, also very vocal on Twitter, Attorney Oliver or Ollie Reyes, who is on Twitter, Age of Brillig. Unlike my other episodes, I didn't prepare any other question except how do I feel about my country, because it is, in a sense, open mic time. Now, let's see where this discussion will take us. So who wants to be the first to answer that question? How do I feel about my country? Yes, Congressman Cojuangco.
I feel very hopeful about the country. For the first time in its history, it has a lot of foreign exchange. I learned in economics that the biggest limiting factor of the Philippines was the scarcity of foreign exchange. I also feel apprehensive because wag sanang masayang itong pagkakataon na marami tayong foreign exchange, wag sanang masayang ang katas OFW natin.
Okay, Ollie Reyes.
I've approached the question a bit more philosophically, and I've thought about it a lot, and it still is home, and that's actually a rather complicated feeling, because home is not always, you can develop some ambivalent feelings about home. Home, you're familiar with all the flaws. Since you're living at home, you can think of a lot of things, how it can be improved, but you're not necessarily of the means or have the capacity to enact those changes. And sometimes people feel strongly enough against home that when they're able to, they change homes, try to cut ties from the past, but still, I think there's a biological necessity to tie that binds one to home. I think it's rooted in biology. Sometimes it cannot be explained logically, but because it is a feeling that is there, I think we should try to make the best out of it. And I think most of us do love our own homes, and from that perspective, we try to think of ways to improve it.
Okay, Attorney Alex.
I'm also very positive and optimistic, and I believe that there is so much that is coming out in our society these days, especially the truth. And I think, I believe that, I hope that eventually this coming out of the truth and the many problems would lead to finding the solutions. I'm talking about, for instance, graft and corruption, specifically in the pork barrel scam. And I think that's one positive thing that is, for me, a good thing that is happening in our country today. And I just hope that this would really result in some solutions. Secondly, there is so much good respect in the international community. I think there is a perception that we have better governance in the government. Definitely the present administration is a lot better than the previous one. There is that perception. And in fact, this is also translated in many upgrades in the investment ratings in the Philippines. At the same time, I believe that the Filipino spirit is on the rise. More Filipinos want to excel, more Filipinos want to shine. There is that desire for greatness, for better respectability, and I think soon we'll find our way there. So I'm very positive. I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I recognize that there are so many problems, big ones that need to be addressed, and I hope that we'll be able to address these big problems soon.
Mr. Orlina.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Pia. I'm happy to be here, and I would like also to say that, I grew up with the Independence Day thing. Because my mother used to bring me when I was 7, 8, 9 years old to the Independence Grandstand. So I grew
okay.
up, let's say, knowing what was happening from the food, from the people around, and there were not so many people during that time. Now I'm
You mean
just,
the Quirino Grandstand
yes,
and the
yes,
Independence Day
yes,
festivities?
Yes, yes. My mother brings me there. My mother is a very nationalistic person. Like maybe I'm also a nationalistic person.
Yes, you are.
And I think a lot of Batangueños are nationalistic, and yeah, I am very hopeful with this new administration. I think they're doing a lot great things for not only for the economy but also for the arts. I can say that we have now auctions in Manila. They have auctions now. Before it was just in Singapore, in Thailand, and Hong Kong, no?
Oh.
But we noticed that most of those that want to Hong Kong to bid for the Filipino pieces are also Filipinos. So they decided some artists or some group made auctions now in Manila, and they making a lot of money, or let's say making good in the auctions. It means that as an artist, you can now live as an artist. Before you have to teach or you have to do something other than your art. Right now, some young artists could sell better than my prices.
That's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good
Oh,
for.
saan nanggaling yun? Where did that come from? Why?
No, because we have
why
the
is it-
talent. No, this is
But
very.
we've had talent for so long. I mean, you
People
yourself.
learn to
no?
appreciate
Yeah,
Oo.
I think people have
But
more
people-
disposable
That's right.
income.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, the extra income.
Extra income at
Yeah.
the same time.
Because you cannot really just keep on, but also the galleries have some sort of meron silang hulugan. These are the things that help also the other collectors who cannot buy, let's say, a Manansala, you cannot buy it. But let's say those up and coming artists, which could be an investment also for the ordinary people, and later on it goes up, and maybe it's a good investment. Actually, in art, could be better than putting your money in the bank.
Okay, wait. So there's more disposable income, like you were saying, Ollie. At the same time, economy's doing better, so people have other places to put or to park their money in. But it's interesting. Kanina, you said na you're very hopeful about this new administration. Does it also have to do with who is in power? Who is the president? What is the administration that is in power at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's. I cannot see much on this on the art of the new administration, but the other administrations have done a lot, and these are growing things. So even let's say the new administration is not so much focused on the art, but let's say if the economy has the money and the leadership is doing their homework, then economy will grow, and when it grow, it passes to the arts. And one thing that I can be proud of is the Filipinos are really good artists. I've had works in Thailand, I did works in Singapore, but I've noticed that we are quite ahead. The one who can really, maybe kalaban natin could be the Indonesians and the Vietnamese. Magagaling din sila. But the Filipinos have more, I think because of our social, meron tayong mahirap, meron tayong mayaman. So you can see that we have expressions on the barong-barong, we have expressions on the rich and to the poor. And I think it helps to develop art in yourself if you have a lot of experiences on different kind of, let's say,
Aspects of life.
Aspect of life.
Okay.
I think one advantage that was brought by the internet has been that it has provided a forum for greater popularization of the Filipino identity. I think that there are more. It has provided more publicity, more opportunities to be noticed, to be heard.
Voices,
and
more voices
voices.
to be heard.
I think that it had been a popular crack before that few Filipinos, if they had the choice, wanted to be Filipino. That's something that I heard when I was a kid, when I was young. But you get less and less of that sense right now. There's greater pride in being a Filipino. The online forums have provided for an opportunity for that to be expressed, for that to be popularized, and it's a very positive development. But of course, there still are a lot of other things that need to be worked on. the facade, all, for as long as it does not, because the poverty levels remain so high, it's still something that we need to
Yeah.
work on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on social media kasi, Oli, di ba, there is also, apart from the voice that says that, I'm proud to be Filipino, ang daming batikos pa rin.
Yeah.
Hindi ba? Ito yung sinasabi mong we strive for the improvement to better ourselves, ganon?
You talked about poverty, and I think it's much easier for a person to feel proud of his country
Yes.
if he's emancipated from poverty.
Poverty.
Yes.
So what you said earlier about talking about corruption, yes, we should always fight corruption. That should always be a relevant topic.
That's right.
But I think that we should also talk about more meat and potatoes issues.
What do you mean exactly?
Our infrastructure.
Can
is
you really
deficient.
separate the two? Can you really separate the two?
Parang you can't.
Which one?
Which can you separate
you
corruption
can.
from it
I
and
think that
potato?
the focus is, like I said,
Yeah.
you have to deal with corruption. It should never be okay. But if you focus on corruption and you forget about the big picture, the plan of where you're going economically, then you miss out on a lot of things. Nowadays, it's so easy to benchmark one's country because of the internet. It's so easy to find out what are the levels, the quality of infrastructure abroad, etc., etc. Before that was hard to do; you had to travel. Now you can do it online.
Yeah.
So we're doing so many things in our society. DPWH, for example, infrastructure, the old way. We've never changed it over the last 20 years. There are methods to do things much more efficiently nowadays. We're not picking up from, we don't even have to invent these things. They were already tried and implemented by our neighboring countries. We could be making use of these things today.
Can you be
But-
specific? What do you mean?
Okay, for example, digging drainage facilities in cities, we have to dig up the streets. But there's technology that allows drainage to be installed without digging up the streets. Is it being done here? No, it's not. Right of way. It's the only country I know where there's no place for pedestrians to walk. We've not kept up with proper zoning. We don't have enough space. We circumvent the rules. That kind of thing. So there's so much that we could do if we just benchmarked a little bit with the more developed neighbors.
You're saying it's good to concentrate on the fight against graft and corruption, but let's not
Yes,
forget.
but that's not
Be-
that.
Yes, yeah.
but they're not little things either, no?
No, they're not
Napakalaking
little,
halaga
they're not
kasi,
little
oh.
things. They're basic values that we should have. But then there's also the nitty-gritty of setting the direction of where we're going physically. Where are we physically going? We should not be squandering katas OFW, like I said earlier, on unnecessary. We sit in traffic longer than we should. We're burning fuel in traffic, not going anywhere. And this is katas of OFW that we're burning in traffic. So we've come to accept traffic as normal, coding as normal, when it's a very abnormal situation.
Yeah.
There's no more urgency to fix that problem. We've swept it under the rug. We've
So we
stopped
should
talking.
look for common sense solutions.
That's a very good
ano,
one.
yeah. Oo.
And I'd like to be able to say something to that.
Yeah.
According to the, I think, January survey of the SWS this year, we are around 103 million population, 55 million of whom are classified to be poor. And of these 55 million who are classified to be poor, 18 million are classified to be hungry poor or extremely poor. So yep, that's 18 million. It's a lot. This is the poorest of the poor segment. If we look at how, this poorest of the poor segments, 18 million, this is where poverty grows the fastest, right? And this is where the number of children of the family is really high. No? So this segment, this is very crucial. Because even if our economy would continue to grow, say top 5 in the whole of Asia, in a region of 47 countries. In fact, in the last 7 years, we've been that we've always been in the top 10.
Just throw at you.
That's right.
If you could just consume half the fuel you consume today, and if
Yeah.
the prices of electricity were say half they are today, I think our economy would be 30%, 40, 50% bigger, and a rising tide lifts all ships. So even the poor,
poorest of
even
the
if
poor
they're
become-
still at the bottom, they're much better off.
Okay,
But
wait, wait.
let me just finish my
Yes.
Okay. Sir, do you mind
Right,
holding
sure,
that thought?
of
We
course,
just
yeah.
need to go to a short break. News.ph will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching News.ph. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Still with us, Attorney Oli Reyes, Mark Cojuangco, Attorney Alex Lacson, and Ramon Orlina. And joining us now is Professor Mike Assis. He's chairman of the Ateneo Theology Department. If you're wondering why a theology professor is here, you'll find out soon.
Me too.
Well, our question is, one basic question: how do I feel about my country? And it's opened up all sorts of roads already. Attorney Alex had the floor before he went to a break.
Yes. Thank you, Pia. As I was saying before the break, I actually agree with much of what Congressman Cojuangco said. But we have this poverty, and it's quite substantial. It's a lot, no? And the CDF, for instance, or the PDAF, it used to be CDF, the original name.
Yes.
Countrywide Development Fund. It was intended to develop the countryside. And we have thrown so much money there. But has it really developed the countryside?
Nope.
So we have
Well,
70 million, 70
argue
million of
that.
the, 70 million of the congressman, and but of course we're not generalizing. There are some good congressmen, but I don't think I can say that there are many of them. No, in my opinion. So CDF is one issue. That's why I could not really separate the graft and corruption from what they call this addressing the poverty.
Yeah. Well, that's why they
it's really
renamed it to
related.
PDAF, no?
It's
Priority
really
Development
related.
Assistance
That's why
Fund, hindi naman na-assist. di ba?
that's why CDF was, PDAF was originally named Countrywide Development Fund because it was really intended to address poverty in the countryside.
I
Yes.
disagree a bit because I can show you
Okay.
how good PDAF was spent. I mean, how...
So there's
how-
good PDAF, there's bad PDAF.
No, what I'm saying
Good
is
CDF, bad
how
CDF.
PDAF can be spent properly. In other words, in my district, I think that I could show it off to you. Even in agriculture, we've set up facilities that will really change the way money comes to the farmer. Yeah.
But if you look at the history of PDAF, it used to be that it was not written in the budget. It was only written in the budget under this administration. So before, in the previous administrations, kung malakas ka lang sa presidente, tsaka ka may pork barrel, may PDAF. So ibig sabihin, kung hindi ka kaparitido ng presidente at hindi ka malapit sa kanya, wala kang PDAF. So it has become as a tool to corrupt, to get the support of that congressman.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
look at Sweden. Sweden is only around 9 million population. We are 103 population. Sweden, the Swedish parliament, completely they have zero pork barrel. May fixed salaries and allowances ang mga members ng parliament nila, and they're allowed only 2 assistants. And yet, the size of their economy is twice bigger than the
The
Philippines.
economic development is not supposed to rely on PDAF. It's supposed to rely on a national plan.
The role
Okay,
of the
so-
members of Congress are
so
supposed to scrutinize the president and the government.
No, there's supposed to be a national plan, and the support for that national plan is written into the budget. I think that he's also right, no? But it's not, the nation is not supposed to be built by PDAF. PDAF is just supposed to patch up shortcomings in localities.
Okay.
That's all it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
we go by the names, it was supposed to develop the countryside. But anyway, wait.
Yeah.
Let's get Mike Assis first into the discussion. Mike, we began with the very general, very basic question is, how do I feel about my country? Since tomorrow is June 12th.
Ambivalent.
Aray ko, okay. Everybody was saying hopeful with a little bit of...
Yeah.
okay. Ambivalent.
Well, kasi I asked my wife before I went here.
Oh,
Sabi
good.
ko, how do
Very
you-
good, Mike.
How do you
Did you
feel?
ask your wife before you came here?
How do you feel about your country? I'm frustrated. Dami. Yung traffic lang dito. Bago makarating dito, ilang... Di ba?
Yan ang sinasabi ni Mark lang, kanina lang. Oh.
The airport.
I feel that when I travel abroad.
Pero frustrated din about myself because I left late, no? So it's also in the personality
You're
of
forgiven.
of the Filipino also. No? It's not only the structures that need reform. It's really values. You
Yeah.
know, and trying to change the way we think.
What do you mean, leaving early? Pero that's like the new abnormal, di ba? We make
So
adjustments.
frustrated. No, I'm a theologian. No?
Yes.
I'm with religion and church and so on. I'm frustrated with the government the same way that I'm frustrated about my church. No, because it's an imperfect church. Okay. But I am hopeful, ambivalent nga, no? So there's something good.
Yeah,
Hopeful
that was
because
big word kanina.
the hope is not in the leadership really. It's in the small communities.
In us.
Di ba?
In
Yeah.
us, actually.
It's all in
In
the
all of
small
us, no?
communities. So we have to do our part in trying to reform first ourselves and then slowly our small communities and then slowly structures. Hopefully, we can have enough impact on leadership and government and slowly, gradually bring into government decent, honest, God-fearing people.
So it's not like we should just focus on the administration, the leadership, and
No,
then expect
no.
them to
Sa atin naman nanggaling
Sa
lahat
atin
din yan
naman,
eh.
tayo
Di
naman
ba
ang
sa mga
pumipili,
eskwelahan,
ano?
di naman natin tinuruan natin yan. And most of these corrupt leaders have been educated in the best Catholic schools. So ang tanong nila, what are you doing in the Catholic schools?
Yeah.
So tanong ko yan sa sarili ko.
Oo.
Hamon
So parang-
namin sa mga teacher namin yan.
Yeah, sa atin dapat magsimula, which is the idea of your book, hindi ba?
That's
Attorney
right.
Alex.
I think you raised beautiful, what do you call this, points, no? And I'd like to be able to dovetail to those points. Washington CISIP in 2008, during the centennial celebrations of UP, University of the Philippines, so 100th year, he was invited as a speaker. And he was already 86 years old at the time. He gave a very short speech. And he congratulated all the alumni of UP. Many of you have become very successful. Many of you have become very powerful. And he said also, do you know that in the last 100 years, from 1908 up to 2008, 46 of those years, Malacanang was occupied by the alumni of your schools. And he said, so practically half. Akala ko ba patriotic kayo? Akala ko ba nationalistic kayo? Bakit ganitong bansa natin ngayon? Right? So, but the other side of that is, parang almost 80% of our leaders in the country are actually graduate of the big schools. The top schools. LaSalle, Ateneo, PMA, San Beda, UST, name them. No? Kung graduate ng mga malalaking schools, at least 80% of our leaders in the country, bakit ganitong bansa natin? What is
I
wrong?
think it has to be come from the people
Within,
themselves.
what Mike was saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think one important thing about poverty is that if you are insecure about your personal economic circumstances, it's going to be harder to be conscious about your role as a Filipino, your role in order to whether how your
Because you're
actions
just trying
can
to survive.
Yes, because you're just trying to live day to day.
Mr. Alina?
Yeah, you were talking about CISIP,
Yeah, CISIP.
Mr. CISIP, and Mr. CISIP is a graduate of UST, including Belayo.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, you're also a graduate of UST.
Yes.
So you're a proud
That's why. That
Tomasyan, you're a proud Tomasyan.
Yes. So, but I think the distribution of wealth here is the number one problem here. Like the PDF, they have all the money. But even, let's say the public, the private company, you look at the bosses have 10 cars, 11 cars, and the distribution does not go to the lower level.
Doesn't trickle down.
It just goes to the
Very
top
good.
Top
400 or the
management.
top management. So if you don't help the poor.
But that's true even in developed countries.
Yeah,
It's
let's say-
even more so in developed
but
countries.
let's say if we compare it to Thailand,
But
I
the
almost
poor,
stated-
the poor of developed countries are not like the poor here. They're much better off.
No, but let's
I think
say
that there's an optimism in a lot of developed countries that the poor, they know that they're hopeful that there is a path to them in order to rise up. And I think that may be
Yeah.
less dominant here.
Upwardly mobile.
Yes.
they
but-
can see, no, where to go.
But
Yes,
we
Mr.
cannot-
Alina,
but we
sorry.
cannot compare much to a rich country and a poor country. Let's say we compare ourselves to Thailand. Thailand, when it went down, we have the same rate, dollar exchange, 27. But now they are better. Why? Because everything is cheaper. Transportation is cheaper, education is cheaper, medicine is cheaper.
They had
Power.
RH before us.
Yeah,
Oh,
they have.
okay, makes sense.
So
Okay.
their sweldo is lower than the Philippine sweldo. But how can they manage to live better than? Because when I was there, I was almost 1 year in Thailand, so I saw how they live. The tourists have better facilities. They are well protected. I think we have to do more on tourism. On
infrastructure also.
No, infrastructure is number one.
The plan. Where are we
plan,
going?
where
The
are we
direction,
going?
the vision.
Yeah.
That's what we need
Yeah.
to work
I
on.
sometimes think that our government, the impulses of our government from Quezon down has always been somewhat leaning towards big government, activist government, but our culture itself leans more towards a more libertarian.
Individualism.
That's also
Individual.
because of social media, hindi ba?
No, I think even
And the
before
NGO
even before
community.
social media, for as long as for a long time the prevailing attitude, philosophy, and this predates even my birth, is as long as you can get away with it, do it, try it out. That's, I think, a very libertarian attitude. And for as long as enforcement of laws is weak, the more and more people think that they should try out that way.
Yeah.
that path.
But is it really an issue of enforcement of laws? You know, are people going to break the law because they know that hindi sila huhulihin? Or, Attorney Alex, but in your book, you say the number one thing the first thing that all Filipinos can do to help our country is to follow the law and to follow traffic rules, the simplest, the most basic of rules,
Yeah.
whether or not we feel na huhulihin tayo.
That's
Di
right.
ba?
Yeah.
And why don't we?
Yeah. Nako. Okay.
Why don't we? Kasi
Yeah, why-
we don't feel na we're part of the country. We don't feel that it's something that we should
We should
defend,
do.
we should love.
We don't feel
we have a
responsible, we don't-
stake in it. So
Until
why should
now-
I
until now,
defend? Why
ganon.
should I follow something
because
that is not
makakalusot.
part of my part of me? Parang it's not, I have not parang assimilated a culture into my values.
It's like malinis yung bahay mo, pero yung labas,
Oo,
hindi.
hindi na akin
Pero-
kasi yun eh.
Oo.
Yung
Pero
batas hindi ko susundin kasi hindi ako
hindi
yan
para
eh.
sa akin
Hindi labas sa akin yan eh.
Pero
Parang-
yung palusot, gawa din natin yun, hindi
Yes,
ba?
yeah. Tama yung sinasabi niya. I agree with you. 100%. Even in right outside your wall, you don't care. Right outside your wall.
Kasi sa atin, yung family is both gift and curse. Di ba? Because of the family source of affirmation and blessing. But on the other hand, because of family, kaya nagka-wendang-wendang din yung country. No? Because we protect interests. Di ba? Family interests. So, sometimes it's easy to blame schools, di ba? Oh, what are you doing in the Catholic schools? In fact, a parent asked me, "Oh, my son is not going to mass anymore. What are you teaching them in school?" Sabi ko,
But the
what are you
parents
teaching? What are you teaching them at home?
Yeah, tama.
Di
Tama
ba?
rin yan.
Sabi ko, lahat tayo dapat nagtutulungan. Hindi lang gobyerno, hindi lang pamilya, doon nagsisimula lahat.
It really begins with each one of
And
us.
family should be able to teach the values, so that law, religion can be part of us.
That we grow up with,
When we violate them, we feel violated as persons.
I think
Okay.
most parents would raise their children to follow, to act good, to act moral, and the like. But whether or not they teach their children as well to have that sense of collective responsibility of being part of a nation, of a people, I don't think that is that conscious yet in them. And maybe it's also because that we are, in fact, a pretty young nation.
I'd like to,
Yeah.
Haven't
I'd like
we been
to add
using
to
that
it.
excuse for a long time?
Yeah. No, but if... I
Well,
think,
okay,
yeah.
100 so years. Okay.
I'd like to add to
Yeah.
it. Two things. Number one, actually, because I think you raised a very good point. In my observation, there is too much emphasis on personal success in the media, at school, at the expense of the common
The
good.
collective.
The common good is not being discussed extensively. Maybe it's being discussed, what do you call this, shallowly, but it's not really being discussed. So, what's happening is that if there is too much emphasis on personal success, we become individualistic to my own. So I just take care of I want to get ahead. So it's like that, no? So and the second point is, I just mic on. The second point is that about leadership. My observation is that there is spiritual poverty among our leaders. That despite the fundamental teaching of Jesus Christ that whatever you do to the least of your neighbors, you do to me, which means Jesus Christ is saying that God is in every person. But many of our leaders actually, they do not see God among their fellow men. Right? Many businessmen, despite the fact that they earn a lot, look at the way they pay their people. They pay there with very small
I want to
amounts
echo
of
what
money,
he says,
right?
that when I travel abroad and I see how other countries have succeeded, it makes me feel two things. One is jealousy, and the other one is anger.
Yeah.
Because
Same
we
here,
can
Mark.
do it. We can do what they did, and
That's right.
we don't even have to reinvent the wheel.
That's right.
It's already there.
We just have to
the
do it.
path has been shown. We just have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely
Final
agree.
words, Mr. Orlina.
Well, actually, my wife is from Malaysia. When I got married to her 25 years ago, Malaysia was like that. Now
Now it is like
Malaysia
that.
is 20, 25 years ahead of us.
Right.
And I feel bad because, when I go there, there's a new highway, there's a new thing, everything is so fast. And the development is, I don't know, even during the time I met her, they were all conscious of, let's say, sabi mo yung basura natin, no? Right now, lahat kami, all my children, all our candies, we put it in our pocket. We learned it from my wife, who said, sabi niya, alam mo, meron kayong Baguio oil. Hindi ko gusto itong Baguio oil. Binuksan yung bintana, itinapon yung Baguio oil. Ngayon, ang problema nito, sabi niya, may tatamaan ko sa Malaysia. Kami matatamaan doon. Pero, basta ang ating advertisement, itatapon mo yung ayaw mo. But hindi maganda kung minsan, ipapakita mo sa tao, through our advertisement, na tatapon ka sa loob ng bakuran mo.
All right. So final words from Attorney Alex. But it sounds like our brand of democracy is... Never mind.
That's right.
Attorney Alex.
There are so many bad things happening, but there are also good things happening in the country. But sometimes it's easy to lose hope, right? And to say negative things. But me, personally, I have made a commitment. I will be positive and optimistic. And I have disciplined myself. I'll focus on the positive and try to find solutions to the negative. So I continue to believe that the Filipino is one of the most wonderful human beings in the world. And I continue to believe that there is so much hope for our country. Because if we, who are talented and educated, lose hope, what about the people below us? What about the people who have nothing to lean on? So we have to keep on believing that we can solve the problems and build a better society for ourselves.
Well, let's start with traffic rules. No? Let's follow them. Basic.
Like I said at the beginning, we have never had this opportunity that the country has net foreign exchange inflows. It's always been our scarcest resource. Wag po sana natin sayangin ang katas OFW by just consuming it rather than investing in our country. When I was in high school in Australia, they also had a problem of littering. And they had an advertisement on television where the family was eating on a table, and after they finished the food, they'd throw the plate. And then it's like throwing garbage in your own living room. The country is our home. Let's not let's treat the country like our personal home. And I think that if we have that attitude, we can move forward.
That's what Oli was saying earlier. Mike.
Well, love of country is like a marital commitment. Diba? I love you for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until further notice. No. Until death do us part. And you cannot love something that is not part of you. So we have to educate our children, teach them, model the behavior. Okay, that if we want to love something like country, like rules and so on, we should make that or those a part of our lives.
When you love someone, you do all good things for that person, di ba?
As much as possible. And yung sabi nga ni attorney, di ba? Whatever happens, stay positive, do your homework, okay? Be disciplined.
Follow the rules.
And follow the rules. Basic virtue. Di ba? It's very important.
Thanks, Mike. Attorney Oli?
Yeah, I think our country is a work of progress. And we may differ as to the expectation when that work will be completed. I'm a pessimist. I don't think I will be satisfied by the results that I will be seeing at the end of my life. But I don't think that should stop anyone, that should stop us from aspiring anyway to try to make the country better. I think that if you're going to look at history, you're going to see a lot of people who devoted their lives to a cause which they did not see finished during your lifetime. And I think that's always a path of self-improvement for a country. So I think that we should not lose hope. I think that if we find the need to temper our expectations as to where we will see our country during our lifetime, we may do so, but I don't think that should stop us from anyway trying.
Let's all
Because we
start
owe
with
it to
ourselves.
the generations after us.
And to ourselves also. No? Let's all start with ourselves. Thank you very much for being here, Attorney Audie Reyes, Professor Mike Assis, Congressman Mark Cojuangco, Attorney Lacson, and Mr. Morardina. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And thank you for watching. See you next Wednesday. Good night.